Imagine waking up one day and discovering that somewhere beneath the ground, not in a distant war zone or an abandoned test site, but within your own country, a nuclear bomb is still buried, incomplete, partially recovered, and never fully removed. It sounds like something out of a thriller or a Cold War conspiracy, but this is not fiction, and it is not speculation. It is a real event that took place during one of the most tense and dangerous periods in modern history, a time when the world stood constantly on the edge of total nuclear war, and when even a single mistake could have changed everything forever.
In the early 1960s, the Cold War had reached a level of intensity that is difficult to fully comprehend today, with the United States and the Soviet Union locked in a silent but relentless struggle for dominance. Both sides armed with vast arsenals of nuclear weapons and operating under the constant fear that the other might strike first, triggering a chain reaction of destruction that could wipe out entire nations. To prevent this, and to guarantee an immediate response in case of attack, the United States developed a strategy that was as bold as it was dangerous, keeping nuclear-armed bombers in the air at all times, flying long routes over American territory and beyond, ready to carry out their mission at a moment's notice. These continuous airborne alert missions meant that massive aircraft like the B-52 Stratofortress were not just symbols of power, but active components of a system designed to ensure survival through deterrence, each one carrying weapons of unimaginable destructive capability, flying day and night, regardless of weather conditions, mechanical strain, or human fatigue. It was a system built on the idea that being constantly prepared would prevent war, but it also introduced a level of risk that few outside the military truly understood, because every flight carried not just weapons, but the potential for catastrophic failure. On January 23, 1961, one of these missions began like many others before it, with a B-52 bomber taking off as part of a routine patrol, carrying 8 crew members and 2 Mark 39 thermonuclear bombs, each capable of producing an explosion many times more powerful than the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. At the start, there was nothing unusual about the flight, no indication that within hours it would become one of the most dangerous nuclear incidents in American history, an event that would remain partially hidden from the public for years. As the aircraft moved through its flight path, something began to go wrong, quietly at first, almost unnoticeable, as a fuel leak developed in one of the wings. In a different situation, this might have been manageable, a technical issue to be monitored and addressed, but in this case, the leak rapidly worsened, causing a dangerous imbalance in the aircraft and putting increasing stress on its structure. The pilots, experienced and trained for emergencies, quickly realized that this was not a minor problem, but a situation that was escalating beyond their control. The B-52 began to lose stability, the imbalance growing more severe as fuel continued to leak, and with each passing moment, the structural integrity of the aircraft weakened, bringing it closer to a breaking point. Communication with ground control became urgent, and the decision was made to attempt an emergency landing, but time was running out, and the aircraft was no longer behaving predictably, responding poorly to control inputs as it descended toward North Carolina. Before the bomber could reach safety, the situation became critical, and the aircraft began to break apart mid-air, its massive frame unable to withstand the forces acting upon it. The crew had no choice but to abandon the aircraft, ejecting into the cold night sky one by one, descending into darkness as the B-52 continued to disintegrate above them, turning what had been a routine mission into a rapidly unfolding disaster. As the aircraft came apart, the 2 thermonuclear bombs it carried were released, falling freely toward the ground below, no longer secured within the bomber, no longer under direct control, but still containing systems designed to activate under very specific conditions. This was never supposed to happen outside of a controlled military scenario, yet in that moment, it was happening in real life, over American soil. One of the bombs began to descend in a way that closely mirrored its intended operational use, its parachute deploying automatically and slowing its fall, stabilizing its descent as internal mechanisms began to activate. These systems were designed to arm the weapon during a controlled drop, preparing it for detonation under the correct circumstances, but now they were activating unintentionally, triggered by the sequence of events during the fall.
What investigators would later discover was deeply unsettling, because nearly every safety mechanism built into that bomb had behaved exactly as it was designed to, progressing step by step toward detonation. Only one final safeguard remained, a relatively simple low-voltage switch, and it was this single component that ultimately prevented the bomb from fully arming itself and detonating upon impact. The significance of this cannot be overstated, because if that final switch had failed, if it had allowed the sequence to complete, the result would have been a full-scale nuclear explosion on American soil, an event that would have caused massive destruction, widespread radioactive fallout, and consequences that would have reshaped the course of history. Entire regions could have been affected, and the political and global implications would have been impossible to contain. While this near disaster was unfolding in one part of the sky, the second bomb followed a much more violent trajectory, falling rapidly without the stabilization of a parachute and striking the ground with tremendous force. The impact drove the weapon deep into the soft, wet soil of rural North Carolina, causing it to break apart as it penetrated the earth, scattering some components while forcing others far below the surface.
The immediate response was swift, with military and recovery teams dispatched to the crash site as quickly as possible. Their objective clear but daunting: locate both nuclear weapons, secure them, and ensure that no further danger remained. The first bomb, the one that had descended by parachute, was located relatively quickly and found largely intact, allowing it to be safely disarmed and removed from the area. The second bomb, however, presented a far more complex challenge, as its impact had not only damaged it, but also buried significant portions deep underground, making recovery extremely difficult. Teams began searching the area, collecting fragments and identifying components, gradually piecing together what had happened, but key parts of the weapon were still missing. Excavation efforts began, and for days crews worked to dig through the soil, attempting to reach the deeper sections of the bomb. The conditions made the work increasingly difficult, as the ground was saturated with water, unstable, and resistant to large-scale digging operations. Equipment struggled to function effectively, and progress slowed as the teams pushed deeper.
Despite their efforts, it became clear that some parts of the bomb had penetrated too far into the earth to be safely recovered, and continuing the excavation posed its own risks, including structural collapse of the excavation site and potential exposure to hazardous materials. The deeper they went, the more uncertain and dangerous the operation became. At a certain point, a decision had to be made, one that would shape the outcome of the incident in a way that still resonates today. Rather than risk further complications or potential hazards, officials chose to halt the excavation, accepting that a portion of the bomb would remain where it had come to rest, buried beneath layers of soil and effectively out of reach. This decision was not taken lightly, but it was seen as the safest option under the circumstances, and the focus shifted from recovery to containment. The U.S. government eventually purchased the land where the incident occurred, placing it under controlled access and ensuring that the area would not be disturbed in the future. For years, much of what happened that night remained unknown to the general public, hidden behind layers of classification and limited disclosure, as the true scale of the danger was not widely shared. It was only later, through declassified documents and investigations, that the full story began to emerge, revealing just how close the United States had come to a nuclear catastrophe. The incident became known as a broken arrow, a term used by the military to describe accidents involving nuclear weapons. And while there were other incidents during the Cold War, few carried the same level of immediate danger and long-term mystery as this one. It was not just an accident, but a near miss of unimaginable scale. Even today, decades later, part of that thermonuclear weapon remains buried beneath the ground in North Carolina, a silent and largely forgotten remnant of an era defined by tension, secrecy, and the constant threat of destruction. It is not visible, not active, and not widely discussed, but it is still there, a physical reminder of how close the world once came to disaster.
And perhaps the most unsettling part of this story is not just how dangerous the situation was, but how easily it could have gone differently. How a single component, a single decision, or a slightly altered sequence of events could have led to consequences far beyond what anyone at the time could fully control. Because sometimes the most dangerous moments in history are not the ones that explode and change everything in an instant, but the ones that almost did, and then quietly disappeared, leaving behind only traces buried deep beneath the surface, waiting to be remembered.